To BBQ Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If tonight is the night you have marked on your calendar to take part in some way, here's your contact info.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter, which you can subscribe to if you hit the main page of the website. At the top of the navigation, it says a newsletter. Just pop in an email address. That's all you need. And every Tuesday around 3 p.m. Eastern, you will get that Barbecue Central Show newsletter giving you a heads up on what's happening later in the show that evening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, it's the first Tuesday of a new month, and there's only 2 months left in 2022, if you can believe it or not. The co-founder of How to BBQ Right, the pit master of Killer Hogs competition team, after a month off, Malcom Reed rejoins the show. And tonight we'll be talking about business with Malcom Reed. Tonight we'll be talking about Thanksgiving, because in a handful of weeks it's going to be Thanksgiving. Malcom has said more than once on his podcast, as he says, Thanksgiving. How does he say? I say Thanksgiving. He said Thanksgiving. It's a Southern thing, I think. That's his favorite holiday. I don't know if it's just like the favorite food holiday or if it's just his favorite holiday. Maybe every holiday that we're in the season of might actually be Malcolm's favorite holiday, and he's just playing all sides of the fence. Whatever it is, it's undeniable that Thanksgiving is coming in 3 weeks. So we want to make sure that we have you ready to rock and roll, knock it out of the park for the folks that might be coming over to your house, or maybe they've asked you to cook and bring something to their house. Whatever your setup is, we want to make sure you have a great chance of success. So we'll talk to Malcom about that, amongst other things as well. So Malcom in for his usual segment here shortly. 35 past the first hour. First-time guest from a big company called Char-Broil. Seth Sawyer will be joining us. Seth is product manager over at Char-Broil, and one of the things that we have been talking about here for the last number of months, it was a 100% assured question last week with the embedded correspondence, was, will you own one and will it be a thing? That being full-size electric grills in 2023. They are available right now in 2022, but as we roll into the next grilling season, whatever that means to you, I've been saying, pontificating, predicting that full-size electric grills will really take hold next year, and it will be one of the hot things that people want to get their hands on, no pun intended. So Seth's going to be talking all about the Char-Broil Edge, how it came to be, and then what you can expect if you are in the market for a full-size electric grill. I was actually on the Jimmy Malone show here locally, WTAM 1100, earlier this morning, and we talked about new trends in the industry, and full-size electric grills was one of the things that we talked about. So looking forward to meeting Seth and then talking about the Edge and whatever else Char-Broil has to bring to the table here over the next handful of months and through the 2023 grilling season. That will close the first hour, and we'll move to the second hour. And joining me in his second hour first interview spot and or 14 past the second hour, we'll be joined by none other than my pal and not yours, Sam the Cooking Guy. Sam, literally fresh off a trip out of the country to, if I'm not mistaken, Japan and Korea, South Korea. So we'll talk to him about the trip, the food that he ate there, if he had to pick one to go back to immediately at my expense, which one would it be and why? Sam has long been a supporter and proponent of Japan. I think he said that if he had to retire anywhere, he would actually go and live in Japan. He's very taken with it, but we'll see what Korea brought to the table and if he might change his mind there. So Sam in his usual 14 past the second hour segment. And then we'll close it down tonight with also a new first-time guest, this time from a big company called Camp Chef. Cade Huskinson will be on to talk about the Woodwind Pro. So what's the other thing we've been talking about aside from full-size electric grills? It's the hybrid cooker. And while the Camp Chef Woodwind Pro might not fall into the hybrid as we've been talking about, which is offset on one side, pellet cooker on the other side with an in-common main cooking chamber, the Woodwind Pro does bring a additional ability to add a lot more wood smoke to your traditional pellet cookers, which is what Camp Chef has been known for over the last handful of years. So we'll talk to Cade about the Woodwind Pro, how that one came to be, some predictions he might see in 2023. So two new guests on 35 past each hour, and two of the biggest guests that I have on a recurring basis on the 14 past each side, first and second hour. Malcom Reed, Sam the Cooking Guy, and then Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil, Cade Huskinson from Camp Chef closing it out. Don't forget you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. We say good evening to those of you watching through one of our streaming platforms this evening, Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch over on YouTube /RD Rempe, where there is a chat going on as well. We also say hello to the folks using the audio streaming platform Clubhouse. So if you would rather hear us and not watch us, Clubhouse is the way to do it, and Clubhouse has a chat integrated with it now as well. So let's start here this evening. And I was surprised to see how much reaction I got to the top of the second hour rant I had last week concerning my daughter Bobby's volleyball coach and what her team is having to deal with. And the majority of it was very supportive, which I certainly appreciate. But in the end, I really wanted to show a spotlight on her specific situation because I think there's a large gap of unknown things when it comes to college sports, especially if you have never gone through the process or been through that experience. Many of you shared stories of heartache, missed expectations, the passion for the sport that you loved being sucked out of you, all because your coach was, for lack of a better term, a shithead. The lack of communication and the lack of having a coach who was interested in getting to know you or your kid as a player and knowing what motivates them, and not only as a player, but as a person. So to everyone out there who shared their story with me, thank you. And to anyone out there who is getting into a position of having your kid play at the next level collegiately and you want to talk about experience, please email me. We can set up a call. I'm happy to share my experiences with you. The more knowledge that's out there, the better for people like us, because nobody was here to tell me how to navigate this with the oldest one. If I did it with the youngest one, I'd be a lot more savvy, but she's not showing a lot of interest in going to the next level, which is fine with us. But I at least have that information and that experience I can pass on. So once again, thanks for the notes and support. And if you need me, hit me up. I'm happy to talk about it. Feedback from the show last week. Mitch in Nebraska writing in. Greg, I love the embedded correspondence segment each and every month. However, this one was especially great. Greg, when Doug cornered you about your desire to have an electric grill, but then questioned that desire by asking if you were going to be paying for one or not, was just hilarious. And you didn't answer the question, by the way. Then You turned the heat around on your guests during the 100% assurity questions, which was priceless. I was laughing out loud, and I'm not just saying that. I was literally laughing out loud. Love the show. Regards, Mitch. Mitch, thank you for writing it. Jared in Louisiana. Greg, after listening to Sean on your show Tuesday night from Cali BBQ Media, I'm inspired to use my phone more to tell the story of my food truck. Like you, I'm hesitant to just start filming and posting, but Sean made so much sense that I have to put my personal apprehension aside and do it more often. Thanks to Sean for talking about it so frankly. He has inspired me. Love the show. And a longtime podcaster, never live. Regards, Jared. Jared, thank you for writing in, and I agree. Sean is an inspiration. I would love to say that over the past week, I threw caution to the wind and just started posting like a maniac, but that would be a lie. I'm not going to lie. Malcom Reed is in the green room. He's ready to rock and roll. Before we get to him, I'm talking to you about Week 17 of the David Leans Do Wellness program. Of course, the website, davidleans.com/BBQ. That's David Leans, Leans, davidleans.com/BBQ to sign up right now. You can start your healthier journey right now. Give it the last 2 months of the year. By the time the new year rolls around, it's not a New Year's resolution. Now it's a New Year's lifestyle, and you're already living it. Little advance work on your part guarantees, well, not guarantees, but certainly ensures success to a larger degree because now you're in it. And you don't have to work through all the other, I'll wait until X date to start. Start now. Do it with me. You know what the one thing I've learned over the last 17 weeks is? It is 100% true. I need no variety in what I eat. I can literally eat the same thing each and every day, and I'm a happy camper. Why? Because I know what's for dinner. I know what's for lunch. That's it. I don't need variety. Do I like variety? Sure. Do I need it? No. Number two, and this is the most important, if you don't do the David Leans program, do this. I realized I'm walking around dehydrated. David's mandate or edict to me was at least 90 ounces of water a day. At least 90 ounces. So I have this huge hydro jug. It's 73 ounces. I'm having at least 2 a day. And what did I notice after a week? I'm hydrated properly. I'm tasting better. I feel better. Tastes in my mouth that I don't really like if I've eaten something don't hang out nearly as long. I'm just overall feeling better because I'm drinking water. Remember, we're mostly water as humans. So if you don't take anything away or you don't even want to attempt the Do Wellness program, which I highly encourage you to do because it has worked for me. And no, I'm not going to take my shirt off and show you how muscular I am. But trust me, I'm in shape. The best shape I've been in 30 years, probably. Fitness, muscularity, all this kind of things, thanks to David. We put the program together. I'm working the program. We're checking in, all the good stuff. But hydration is key. Do that if nothing else. davidleans.com to sign up right now or email me. And I'll tell you about all my experiences over the last 17 weeks. We're back with Malcom Reed right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com. Your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. That's COOKIN, cookinpellets.com. You can also see what other cool items they have that might trip your light fantastic as it relates to the barbecue or grill. It is the first Tuesday of a month, 14 past the hour, and that means we are racing to the hotline and welcoming back friend of the show, the pitmaster of Killer Hogs, Malcom Reed. Hey, Malcom.
What's up, Greg? How's it going, man?
Malcolm, is there any way I'm going to convince you, like me, to get on board with my pal David Leans so we can get muscular and trade shirtless photos of each other down the road?
I don't know about the trading the photos, but I could definitely use a little coaching.
Malcolm, look, I'm not crying here, but how do we have someone named Mr. Make It Happen as a guest on your podcast, and your boy can't get a sniff? What's going on?
Hey, man, when you get ready, the door's always open, Greg. You can come down and do it live with us.
Who's Mr. Make It Happen?
I met him through a buddy of mine, AB. I don't know if you know Smoking and Grilling with AB on YouTube, but he was from out in LA, and he was one of his guys. He's done some collabs. I just thought it was interesting, and AB asked if I'd want to talk to him on my show, and Tyler kind of set it up, and we just had him on for a segment. And it's interesting to see how somebody else gets into the YouTube thing, and he kind of fast tracked it. So me, I've been doing this for a long time, and it took a long time to get to where we are. And you've got guys that have come in, and since COVID hit in 2 years, they're hitting the top and passing what I'm doing, and it's just crazy how the platform's changed.
The thing that stuck with me as I was listening to his interview was he said it. I think I don't want to say he lucked into it, but he just hit at the right time. He was in the heart of COVID. Everybody's looking for any kind of entertainment to consume, and he jumps on. He had some kind of an inkling to start a cooking show somewhere, but then just everything just started lining up, and boom. Of course, you have to film it right, and the content's got to be good. You got to be engaging. You have to have all these positives that are going your way too, but being able to hit it at the right time, and what better time was there over the last 2 years? Like you said, you can experience a lot more success than the Malcom Reed, who everybody sees with 1.5 million YouTube subscribers right now, but it was 16 years to be an overnight success for you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those guys, they kind of jumped into what YouTube wants them to do. They have there's this system that YouTube likes, the way you do your thumbnails, the way you do your descriptions. You're playing the game they want you to play, so it kind of feeds you out to their algorithm a little more. And we've always just kind of done it our way without looking at that. But it's kind of changing the way we're thinking about doing some things too, because if you want to get those views, you've got to, you kind of got to give them what they want on all sides, the viewer, YouTube as a whole. There's a lot more goes into it than just recording and editing a video and uploading it.
When you look at the podcast specifically, you don't do a lot of guest interviews. Maybe you've probably done 10 or less over the lifespan of it. Is that something that you guys have talked about doing more into the following year, or is it just whenever it makes sense, you drop somebody in?
I think that's our plan. We'd like to bring more guests on. I think it's interesting, and it gives us a different take, and it lets us open up to learn from other people and their experiences. So the reason why we hadn't is because we really hadn't figured out the technology as well. And we're trying different things, working slowly. Like, I think this last one did pretty good. The audio wasn't crisp as I would like. It's nothing when you have a guest on. So that maybe that's what we can do a segment about. We can talk about how to work it out to where you can have guests on your podcast.
Well, here's the fix. You have to be a complete dick like me and require all your guests to get microphones and sound good.
Yeah.
I know Malcolm's going to sound good. I can see the setup. I know what your setup is. But if you want to have all parties sound good, it becomes, I'm used to asking for people's money all day long doing the day job. And it took me 10 years, 12 years to get up the nerve to ask my guests, hey, will you go out of your way to sound just as good as me so we can make it a pleasurable listening experience all the way around for the listener? So the listener can stop and say, that was just a great interview. Never once do you hear that much of a drastic sound quality between the guest and the host. The host should always sound good in my opinion, but the better the guest can sound is also a positive in the overall audio for the listener. But the ask has to come, and honestly, that was pretty uncomfortable for me to go back to I mean, you already had the gear, but I go back to Steven Reichland and say I'm the cooking guy and go, hey, can you get a microphone? And, I want to sound like nobody said no, but it's just in my gut. I felt like that might have been starting to push the line. And this coming from a guy who has no problem asking what people make in their business. And, people give me shit about that all the time, but that was something that made me feel uncomfortable. And the good news is over the last couple of years, the show has sounded great. So it's making the ask and hoping people will buy into it. And then holding to those principles. If a guest says no, then until you get that microphone, we're not going to do the segment. And we've had a number of those conversations too through the last year or so. Anyway, look, major announcement as it relates to How to BBQ Right podcast. Securing the very first sponsorship. Now, I love business, of course. I just got done talking about this. So I'm going to go out on a limb, Malcolm, and say there's no bigger fan of the How to BBQ Right podcast than me. I've been listening to it right from the very beginning. I love the concept of how you're looking behind the scenes. You're talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the videos, other stuff that you're interested in. It's a whole get to know Malcolm, Rochelle, TikTok Tyler, and getting to know 3 other people that you wouldn't know otherwise in a different way. And now we have a sponsor. So, is it something that you were looking for? Was the sponsor coming to you actively? How does this all come together?
Well, I think we kind of forced our way on them.
That's the best way to do it.
Joke. we had this inside joke, that Shell is not even a closet mayonnaise lover. Like, she's on team mayonnaise and
she's
blue
out.
plate mayonnaise at that. That's what we've grown. Yeah, she's out. She's out herself as a blue plate aficionado, and I give her a hard time about it a lot of times. But that's it was the mayonnaise that we grew up on, and I would say most of the people in the barbecue world that I know are probably Team Dukes. Well, in the South, especially Mississippi, Louisiana, in Memphis area, it's usually blue plate. That's just what we have because it was made down in New Orleans and distributed up this way. And so I talked about it, and they got to share some of our stuff. And then we got to I kind of got to talking to you a little bit about what it's like to get a sponsorship or something. And you gave me some ideas. And so they wanted to do something with this. And so I just pitched them, hey, why don't you become the podcast sponsorship? And they jumped on board and were excited about it. They officially just announced they're the official CEO of the new meats. So I guess they're spending some advertising dollars, trying to get the word out about blue plate mayonnaise. And it made sense since we were already talking about it, and I use it in my recipes.
Is it a regional availability, or can I jump on Amazon and get blue plate if I wanted to?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've been on our page. There's people saying they're buying it and tasting it and all over. But yeah, it's popping up in stores. People are sending us pictures where they're starting to see blue plate. I think they're trying to push it for national distribution, and I'm sure it'll get there one of these days. So it's not just regional, but it's primarily in this area.
For years, I'd heard the legend of Dukes, but it was only Hellman's and Kraft and maybe some local mayonnaise up here, regionally here in the Cleveland, tri-state area, whatever. And then all of a sudden one day the floodgates open, Dukes comes into the Giant Eagle stores up here. And I wish I was some kind of mayonnaise aficionado that could sit here and say, oh, this is this brand and this is that brand. When you taste blue plate, so the overwhelming thing I hear about Dukes is, I guess, there's more tang or more vinegar to the Dukes versus a Hellman's that I'm more accustomed to. Now, I taste them. It appears to taste like mayonnaise to me. The only one I can really taste a difference on is that Kewpie mayo. Sam, the cooking guy, is a big fan of that. That does have a little bit more of a like egg yolkiness to it, or richness, I guess would be a better descriptor. But when you describe blue plate, what hits or what separates it for you?
Do you want the sponsor answer or do you want the real answer?
Yes, I want both. Give me the sponsor answer first, and then give me the real answer.
Okay. Well, it has a rich creaminess, and you can taste the recipe changed for 100 years in own unique, better than any other mayonnaise out there on the planet. It does have a thing, but it's not overly vinegary. It does have a saltiness to it, but it's flavorful. It's not sweet like a Miracle Whip. It is true, authentic Southern mayo, the way it should be.
Nice.
Now, the real answer is it tastes just like mayonnaise.
Hey!
It tastes like every other mayonnaise.
Thank God.
I'm the same guy. And it's kind of to me, it's kind of tongue in cheek a little bit because we're talking mayonnaise, man. It's just a condiment you put on sandwiches. It's a be all end all. I never knew that this many people were uptight or had an opinion on mayonnaise, but apparently it's a thing. So
to me, there's only two camps. You like mayo, or you are a weirdo and you like salad dressing, Miracle Whip, which on the label it says tangy zip. If it says tangy zip on something that's supposed to look like mayonnaise, but it's not mayonnaise, then I don't want any part of it. I've tasted it multiple times. The only person I know that likes Miracle Whip, well, it's two people, and one of them is my mom, and I think she only likes it in this one weird sandwich that her family used to eat. It's called a gooey sandwich. You ever heard of gooey sandwich, Malcolm?
No, I have not.
Now,
it doesn't sound.
Don't hold me to 100% accuracy here, but it involves a hand crank meat grinder, like from the olden days that you would affix to the counter. Then I think you put in overcooked roast beef from the night before. You run it through the grinder, and then you put in Miracle Whip, and it goes on white bread. And kind of sounds like it might be Southern, actually. But geez, you put in that Miracle Whip, and it's a loser for me right off the bat. I could see grinding some overdone roast beef for some kind of a sandwich, but once you incorporate the Miracle Whip, I'm out.
No, man, that doesn't even sound appetizing to me at all.
Yeah,
and I'm the same way. I don't touch Miracle Whip. I think my mom has a recipe for like some kind of an egg salad where it calls for Miracle Whip, but that's not something I would eat. I don't like it, man. If I'm using a white creamy condiment, it's going to be mayonnaise, real mayonnaise.
100%. Malcolm and
I will eat
are
the other kinds if I'm out.
Well, sure, because we believe it tastes like mayonnaise. We like mayonnaise, so why not? Let's talk about the latest video that's up on the YouTube channel, which is the Cajun pork loin sandwich. And one of the things, so I've been a long time proponent and proselytizer that beef tenderloin is widely overlooked, widely underrated. People should be on that way more. But this is now we're talking about pork loin, which is, I think, an even better value and an even better way of cooking a large amount of food for a large audience. And it's very inexpensive. So talk to me a little bit about pork loins and then how you came up with the recipe for the Cajun pork loin.
Yeah, well, that one was one I was working, just like you said, I was wanting to work on a recipe that we could do. We go to deer camp with all my buddies. And, of course, cost is always part of the equation. So I was looking for something that like a really good sandwich that wouldn't break the bank. Kroger had pork loin sale, $1.99 a pound. So I got this 5-pound big chunk of pork loin for 10. Eat that. I mean, you could see how big a sandwich I made. I could make about 10 of those sandwiches with that pork loin. And I probably had, almost probably a half pound of pork if I measured it out after I cooked it. So that was what I was thinking. I was going to say, how can I take something economical, turn it into something that is really a dish that tastes good and feeds a lot of people? And for the Cajun pork loin aspect of it, I just wanted to do something that wasn't, traditional barbecue smoke. So I made up a Cajun injection. This time of year, everybody's doing turkeys. So there's all these injections in the supermarkets. You could buy one of the bottled Creole butter ones. I just make my own. It's just chicken broth, hot sauce, some seasoning, and some melted butter. It's real easy to do, but I shot that thing up, and I probably put 2 cups of injection inside a 5-pound pork loin. I mean, it bloated up. Oof. And the great thing about it is it doesn't lose a lot of its weight, so it stayed moist inside. Season the outside. Well, one, a lot of times you cook those pork loins, they'll have like a thin fat cap over them. And, you can trim it off, but the pork loin itself is so lean that a little fat helps it. So I just scored it. And then I rubbed it down with some spicy Creole mustard to give some of that graininess to it. Like that doesn't disappear. Like when you use regular yellow mustard, you can't really tell it's on the side of it. But when you use that Creole grainy mustard, you get that crushed mustard seed. Some of those spices that's in it stays on the outside. It has a little bit of a horseradishy bite to it. It's really good and seasoned it with some Cajun seasoning and just smoked it till it was about 135. I'm a 135 man at pork loin, because once you get those things to where people say, oh, they got to go to 145, 150, you have dried the crap out of them, man. You can't hardly swallow it. It's just tough. And so if you take it to 135, let it carry over to about 140 and you slice it, you can wring the moisture out. It is soft. When you bite into it, it melts in your mouth, and that's what makes it so good.
Malcolm, we have about 3 weeks until Thanksgiving, which is a favorite holiday of yours. So what's on the menu this year at the Reed household? And have you heard anything on a shortage of turkeys this year because of that avian flu?
So I've been hearing that and seeing people post it, and people taking orders for turkeys and dinners and all that stuff. They say there's a shortage. Well, last year, our turkey, I was doing turkey recipes, and they didn't hit the supermarkets till like a week or so right before Thanksgiving. And this year, turkeys have been in our grocery stores for 2 weeks now. I've already bought several and did a recipe last week that was something different. I've got a couple more that I'm thawing out, gonna brine and do another recipe with, and I'm cooking turkey breast for our Thanksgiving. So I haven't seen it yet. I've seen people talking about it. But if you go to the store now, and why wouldn't you go? It takes a week to thaw one out in the fridge. Why wouldn't you go ahead and get it now, hold it for a few weeks, and then we got a week to thaw it out? It's practically here.
Have you been in contact with our guy, Kevin Green, out at the butcher shop? And does he have those big turkey breasts?
He does. He actually, Mark, who stepped in for me last, got a couple of them. He's working on some recipes for him. But we talked to Kevin. Now, he didn't get an unlimited supply, but he secured, I'm sure he secured plenty for what orders and the people that always get them from him. So he does have those, and that's what I'm cooking. You started cooking those big, giant, I call them Texas size, boneless turkey breast. It's a game, man. It's all 100% white meat turkey, and it tastes so good. It's better than just a whole frozen bird any day.
Are those enhanced, or do you either inject or brine?
I always eject them. They're not in the pack. I mean, I'm not going to swear to that they didn't pump something in them, but it looks like these come from a farm. Mm-hmm. Like it's not sourced somewhere like, a Cargill or somewhere like that. It seems like it's a local farm the way they come. They're very natural. Inside the package, it's wrapped in foil and then cryovac, so it doesn't seem something real commercial. So I would say no, they don't enhance them. That's why it's probably so good.
What's Malcolm's favorite side on Thanksgiving?
Oh man, do you consider the dressing a side?
Hell yeah!
'Cause you can't have Thanksgiving without turkey. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. But Dale's mac has got to be right there too. You got to have ham, turkey, dressing.
Do you get cute with the dressing and put it in those muffin tins, or not so much?
No, it's a big casserole dish at my house. We make it and you spoon it out and you have the gravy to go with it. Real cranberry sauce, not one of those from a can that you slide out. Real homemade cranberry sauce.
Malcom Reed joining us here on the show. You can hit him up on YouTube, where 1.47 million of you are currently doing that. The website, of course, howtobbqright.com, and you can find him here the first Tuesday of every month. Malcolm, always appreciate the time. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you in December.
Yes, sir. Let's wrap it up next month, Greg. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, man.
There he is, Malcom Reed, right there from How to BBQ Right and the pitmaster of Killer Hogs competition team. So loving the Thanksgiving insight right there. Call Kevin at the butcher shop. If you mention the Barbecue Central show, you get 10% off your order each and every time you call, and that's good on anything. He's also a master of meat and all this other stuff, but if you want to try that turkey breast that Malcolm was talking about, that's where he gets his. And mention the show, get 10% off. And then Malcolm doing business, securing that first sponsor, which we love. Yeah. Time to get paid. All right, so we have Seth from Char-Broil in the green room ready to go. Before we do that, I will talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. You have a choice, no pun intended, a choice line and a prime line. So if you're somebody that doesn't need the following: Wi-Fi, an app to control your cooker, internal meat probes, lights on the inside of the cooker, a more robust chassis build, then the Choice line is the one for you. You just want a solid cooker, better than entry level, get you where you need to go, great size, 2 different sizes to choose from, all that. Choice line is the one you want. Then you can decide, I want all that stuff that I just mentioned. So you're looking at a Prime line. Again, look in Windows on the main cooking chamber, the pellet hopper. Now you have the internal meat probes, the app connectivity, all that other stuff. That's the Prime, couple different sizes to choose from there. And if you're a traveler or you're a tailgater, they have one called the Trek that can fit in the back of most trucks, vans, and SUVs. Goes right in your 12-volt receptacle in the vehicle. You're powered, or it can go through car battery. It's got the clips. Or you can just plug it into the wall if you want. You can do that too, just like a normal person. Why not? Prime line, that's the one. The Peak, the Ledge, or the Trek is the portable one, and then you have the Choice line. No matter what, pizza oven insert fits into all of those, only sold through dealers. So go to greenmountaingrills.com, find a dealer near you, visit the dealer, get educated, become an expert, buy the one that best fits your needs, get it home. You have success. Why not? It's the only way to roll. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. We are back with Seth from Char-Broil. Right after this, stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
And we thank Malcom Reed for joining us last segment. This portion being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard, fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Ted Conrad and the gang out there at Fireboard. My next guest is proving I am right, and the embedded correspondents are wrong, at least on one point. That being the legitimacy of full-size electric grills coming into the market. The Edge was released earlier this year, and here to talk about how it all came to be and what you can expect from it if you're considering buying it is the product manager for Char-Broil. We race to the hotline and welcome first-timer to the show, Seth Sawyer. Hey, Chef. Sorry, Seth, I had you on mute. My fault. Great to have you.
Thanks. That's all right. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Seth. So before we dig into the Edge and some of the other cool things that Char-Broil has going on here through the rest of the year, potentially leaking into 2023, since it's your first time on the show, a little information about you, where you're at home base-wise, what you do professionally, and what you might have done previous to Char-Broil.
Yeah, so I'm based out of Char-Broil's headquarters, which is in Columbus, Georgia, so about an hour or two south of Atlanta. I've actually been in this industry since 2009, so I've been in outdoor cooking for 13 years. I started as an engineer and kind of slowly worked my way towards the product management and marketing side of things over the last 5 or 10 years or so.
Where were you previous to Char-Broil? Any names that we're familiar with?
Yeah, so I started at Masterbuilt, and then I worked at a company called Spectrum Brands that owns a ton of indoor cooking appliances as well, and then came back to Char-Broil in 2015. So I've been there about 7 years now.
How does the opportunity present itself to come over to Char-Broil?
You know, I'm from Columbus originally, and so when I had a chance to come back, I was in Wisconsin when I was in with the other company, and I was always looking for a chance to come back. Wisconsin was great. I love Madison, but it's a little cold for me, being a Georgia kid. And so when I had the opportunity to come back to a company in my hometown, no less, that was a pretty easy decision to make.
Did you ever partake in tiger meat sandwiches up there?
You know, I never did. I heard of it, but I never did.
Well, thank God. Ugh. Otherwise, we'd be getting your breakdown of tiger meat. There's another name for it, too, that I can't think of right off the top of my head, but tiger meat sticks in my head. So There's this guy that used to F with me to no end up in that neck of the woods, and he would come out of the grocery store, roll tape with him in his car, busting open the ground beef package and like eating it right out of the package,
Oh, no. Yeah.
So foregoing the toasty square and the slivered onions and cracked black pepper to make it a true, tiger meat sandwich. But he was just into eating the raw ground meat. And I was like, dude, one of these days you're going to pay for that and we're going to have it on tape and we're all going to laugh at you on the show. But unfortunately, that didn't come to be. Anyway, Seth, happy to have you on the show here. Once again, the website, charbroil.com, if you want to check it out as we're talking here. So over the course of the last number of months, we've been talking about things that are currently a thing, but we think are going to be the thing next year in 2023. And earlier this year, there were two things that were introduced by Char-Broil that stand out to me. The Edge is the second one. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the first one is something we had long wondered about, clamored about, asked about, which is how come there can't be a thermostatically controlled gas grill? You look in your house, you see the oven. It seems, from a concept standpoint, fairly similar, but from all accounts, not similar. And then March, April of this year, Char-Broil has a big release and shows the cruise. So if you could just high level the cruise, where it's available and what the reception's been like in the market.
Yeah, so the cruise is available at Lowe's and as well as charbroil.com. So it was the first thermostatically controlled gas grill that we launched earlier this year. Like you said, the whole point of it is we wanted to get away from this traditional kind of low, medium, and high. We've done a ton of research. We've watched a lot of people cook. We noticed some of the same kind of pain points where temperature management, seemed like it could be a little bit better. And so rather than kind of making the grill more precise, but still with the same control method, we thought, why don't we just, kind of embrace a more specific way of controlling temperature and just no more low, medium, and high. Let's dial in some exact temperatures and let the grill kind of do the work for you from there and hold at those temps, the whole time you're cooking.
How are you seeing entry into the market? People pretty accepting of it?
Yeah, the feedback has been great. The reviews have been positive. It's interesting because it seems like a pretty straightforward thing. You're going from low, medium, and high to setting different temperatures. But what we're hearing from consumers is it's more different than they expected. You walk out to a grill and you're so accustomed to just, you want to crank all the burners up to high so you can preheat as fast as possible, that when we ask you to type a specific temperature in, there's a bit of a learning curve there, right? You've got to kind of relearn. I don't cook chicken breast on medium. I cook them on 475 or whatever. So there's a bit of a learning curve there that you maybe don't anticipate until you use the product for the first time. And that's one of the things that we're hearing is, I have to, now that I have more options and it's a more specific process, I have to kind of rethink how I do things. And so, but the feedback's been positive. People are really intrigued by, the idea and, are excited to see the product when they go to a Lowe's or, get to see one in person. So it's been good.
Seth Sawyer joining us here on the show from Char-Broil. Maybe in a separate interview, we can actually dig a little deeper into the cruise and see how that actually came to be. It's certainly interesting to me that it took this long to get something like that on the market. But let's talk a little bit more about the Edge here this evening, as this is a topic that's been at the top of the mind on the show here for the last number of months. When I was in college, so that's 93 to 97, a couple of years later, I was off campus. So we had the run-of-the-mill kitchen, but then I had this really weird eggshell-shaped electric grill. It had a weird-shaped heating element in it, and I might have used it 5 or 6 times, cooked some real crappy steaks on it because I didn't know what I was doing back in. I might have cracked it cleaning it one time, and, then it's out.
Sure.
And then that was like, 96, 97. And then all of a sudden, there weren't really any electric grills. And I'm not even talking about George Foreman or anything like that. I don't necessarily consider that like an electric grill per se. And
Right.
now in this year, 2022, we see the Edge is released. I've talked to a couple people that have either trialed it, bought it, and are using it. And the reviews have been more favorable than I guess I thought they would be. So Let's talk about the evolution or the genesis of the Edge, how long it's been on the board, and was this a clamoring from Char-Broil faithful saying, we would love to see an electric grill that's full-sized because I'm in an apartment, or there's going to be a motion to move into cities all of a sudden instead of suburbs? How does it come to be?
Yeah, so that was something that we worked on for quite a while. Went through a lot of different versions, trying to figure out exactly what it was that we wanted to deliver to consumers. And what we identified really is that there's a decent amount of people out there that want to grill. They enjoy grilling and outdoor cooking, but they either can't have gas or charcoal, or maybe for one reason or another, they want to specifically get away from those fuel types. And, like you said, up until this product, really, if you were going to be in an electric grill, your options were really limited. I mean, all that was really available were these, tabletop units or portables and things that were kind of small and underpowered. And, they're okay kind of in a pinch, but no one's going to confuse those for, the same thing as cooking on a full size gas grill. And so, the more we looked into that, the more we realized, why don't we give people that traditional grilling experience, but in an electric platform? And that's really what the Edge was determined to be. And that's what we worked on for really the last couple of years to get it out this year.
When you look at the size of it, what are we looking from a capacity standpoint? And if nobody's ever seen it, is it comparable to a certain size Weber or a certain size Char-Broil gas grill, things along these lines?
Yeah, so the whole firebox itself is 330 square inches. There's about a 4-inch wide warming zone on one side, but if you're going to talk about gas grills, that's about the same size as our 3-burner performance series. So if you go to a Lowe's or one of the places that carries Char-Broil gas grills and look at our mid-range performance models, about a 3-burner gas grill, it's roughly that size. It's a decent size. It's not going to be the same size as a 5 or a 6-burner, but it's not a portable or a tabletop either. It's you can put about 18 burgers on there if you pack them efficiently. It's a pretty good size grill.
And it's just standard outlet, plug it in, and you're ready to go, or do you need 220 power?
No. It runs on it's 120. That's one of the issues why I think this type of product hasn't existed before is, it's not easy to heat that well with the power that we have available in the US. In Europe, you see more of this type of thing because they have 220 and 240 volt options, but no, this runs on 120. The only thing we say is just to make sure you're putting it into, a dedicated circuit. Don't plug it into one that's got, you don't want to have, some 500 watt appliance on the other plug that you plug it in, because it is 1750 watts. So it'll run on a traditional plug, but it'll take most of the power that you have available on that.
I was on a local radio show this morning, and one of the questions brought up were, what do you see from trends in the industry? We talked about full-size electric grills. And one of the questions from the host was, well, what does it taste like? Is it akin to a gas grill experience? I told him, I'm like, I don't have one. I don't have any firsthand experience on it. I would venture that it would taste similar, from what I've been told, to a gas grill experience. It would probably differ from charcoal because charcoal is a whole different fuel. You get fat burning down onto the charcoal. There's flavor coming back up, all that vaporization, whatnot. But how do you explain it? Is it similar to what you would find in a gas grill experience, or is it different too?
It is absolutely similar. So, to your point, cooking over charcoal or any type of live fuel is really a different thing, right? You got different combustion characteristics and smoke and things going into the food. So that's a different story. But when you compare it to a gas grill, I am highly confident that I could do a blind taste test and you would not be able to tell which came off which. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there that, when it comes to grilling, that actual flames themselves on a gas grill are creating, certain flavors. And that's really what you need is heat. It's just that electric grills, until this one, haven't been able to get hot enough to replicate the heat that you can get on a gas grill. And this grill is the first one that does that. And so, it utilizes our amplifier infrared cooking system. And so I am highly confident. And we've actually seen this in some reviews as well. that if you did a side by side, you would not be able to tell the difference. It will sear every bit as good. It will put the same flavor on there because of the infrared system. As the fat drips down, it smokes just like a real gas grill does, and it puts that right back into the food. And so it is a different experience entirely than any electric you've ever cooked on. And that's coming from someone who cooked on a lot of electric grills and stuff, when I was in college and working at some of the other companies that I've been at. So it is really a completely different it's a completely different grill.
When you plug it in, turn it on, get it preheating, what kind of a time frame are we looking at to get it up to, whatever the hottest setting is?
Yeah, so it's 15 minutes to 500 degrees. So a lot of electrics out there, that's their max temperature. A lot of them max out around 500, maybe 550, but that's in a lab setting. Problem with that is if it's cold outside, they'll never get there. If you dump some frozen chicken or burgers or something on there, they'll never get there. So this one will get to 515 minutes, but it'll actually max out at 700 Fahrenheit. So I mean, that's even hotter than a lot of gas grills will get.
From a cost operation standpoint, is it pretty cheap to operate?
You're talking about in terms of how much electric
consumption versus
like gas?
Do you guys do like some kind of a comparison to, well, this is, how much propane and, how much electricity is it going to pull?
So that's a great question. So we don't have that information posted on our site. We probably should. I'm glad that you mentioned that. We don't have that, but we do have that data, and it is significantly cheaper than any other fuel type in terms of if you want to boil it down to like pennies per hour of cook time type of a metric. It is cheaper than pellets. It's cheaper than charcoal. It's cheaper than gas as well, and it's not by a little bit, by a lot.
So we're looking at Lowe's for this one too, or is this a different captured store market for the Edge?
So this one, we're doing a little bit more of a controlled rollout with this one. It's on Amazon.com and Char-Broil.com right now. You're going to see it in some additional retail partners in 2023. But this being a significantly different type of product, we're doing a little bit more of a controlled launch rather than kind of the full scale right out of the gate.
As we look into 2023, if full-size electric grills, I'm betting are going to be a thing next year, what are the things that you guys looking at potentially rolling out, or what do you think might be trending next year that we might not be considering at this point?
Yeah, I think, the interesting thing is electric will allow you to do some other things that you can't on other fuel types. I mean, it's a little bit more of a controlled cooking experience. It's a little easier to control electric than it is gas and live fire. And so that's going to allow people to do, I think people can do more versatile stuff on an electric than you can on some other fuel types, just because it is so controlled. And then the fact that, just an electric firebox in general is significantly different than a gas one. It's going to let people do some different things with form factors and designs and things like that as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see some of that kind of stuff start hitting the market within the next couple of years.
Are you a believer in Beyond Meat steak tips?
I'm not a huge fan of the stuff. I've had I've had a couple Impossible Burgers and Beyond Meat and things like that, and they're okay, but I still prefer the real thing.
This is Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil. He is the product manager. Char-Broil.com is the website. We've been talking about the Edge. So if you are in the market for a full-size electric cooker, then this is one you would want to give consideration. Char-Broil.com. Seth, really appreciate the insight. And as I said, maybe we can do a follow-up interview, dig a little bit more into that cruise and see what's happening then.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
Appreciate the time, Seth. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil. So, a little bit more insight onto what I think is going to be a thing, even though the embedded correspondents thought I was a kook last week. Doug backing me into a corner. Are you going to buy one? F you, Doug. Leave me alone. Like, if you're not interested on that alone, like the cooking experience, we both agree charcoal's different, live fire is different. But between gas and electric, blind taste test, nobody can tell the difference. Like, that's got my interest right there. And I know I'm not going to run out of propane. Now, do I have to worry that much like the gas grill, if I don't turn it off, it's just going to eat up electricity? Yes. But it's probably less expensive to do that than it would be to pipe natural gas into that grill and leave it on for a week, right? Absolutely. All right, we are going to wrap the first hour in just one moment. If you have any questions, thoughts, emails, and or otherwise, hit me up, Greg, at thebbqcentralshow.com. You can get me socially at BBQ Central Show on the Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or the Snappy Snaps. We will come back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back, and we thank Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil, the product manager over there, talking about the Edge. High level on the cruise. We'll dig into that more in a subsequent interview. Charbroil.com, their website. As he had mentioned, if you're interested in the Edge, a little bit more of a controlled rollout, so you either have to go to charbroil.com and order, or a fledgling website that he had mentioned, amazon.com, and you order through there. But those are your only two ways to get your hands on one of those. Derek Riches has one, and he was fairly impressed with that. Also, our new friend Wes Wright over at cookoutnews.com did a full-depth interview over on his website. And he was certainly more of a fan than he wasn't. I believe he said one of his cons were heat up time, but that was also part of his expectation as well. So in the grand scheme of things, wasn't that big of a deal. And as Seth was talking about last segment, to get to 500 degrees, it's about 15 minutes. So if you're looking at a similar, is the gas grill going to heat up to 500 degrees in less than 15 minutes? I would venture to say 100% yes. What about charcoal? Well, you got to get charcoal going. Even in a charcoal chimney, I would say best guesstimates, 15 minutes. And now you're not even looking at a cooking temperature at that point. The charcoals are just ready to go, and you're dumping them out. And then, like, for somebody like me, I know what I'm doing. I don't have to worry about that. But if you're a novice on charcoal, probably a little bit apprehensive. So electric might be a little bit more up your alley, so we'll see how it goes. I'm absolutely interested. I've been offered 0 free grills, so don't even come at me on that. Interesting conversation, and we'll take it from there, and we'll track to see how it actually pans out here over the next handful of months and weeks, or weeks and months, especially as the year comes to a close, as we begin November here this very day. We are getting ready for the second hour. We will have Sam the Cooking Guy. We will have Cade Huskinson from Camp Chef. I have some takes to run off at the top of the second hour. We have a best of coming up this Friday that is going to absolutely knock your socks off, and I'll tell you exactly why that is. You can jump in as well through social media or through our audio streaming platform, Clubhouse. There is a chat in Clubhouse too. Hit that little balloon up at the top of the room, and you can get into the chat with each other there if you would like. All right, go ahead and refresh your libations. We are pointing to the second hour. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show right here on the BBQ Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Char-Bono! It's all about the Char-Bono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central show. We talk about barbecue and grilling related items of only the highest importance on the show. Each and every Tuesday, we are doing it live.
We'll do it live.
From 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. If you are not able to make the live show, we record and put out a podcast on Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. So you get a full block of barbecue and grilling talk, and then if you can't make that, you get 3 days of additional barbecue and grilling talk. You can watch it live. You can also take it in on Wednesdays and Thursdays if you're a true super fan, and then get a new show every Friday with the best of. The show is being brought to you from the
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
Still to come on the show this evening, Sam the Cooking Guy, in about 12 minutes from now, and Cade Huskinson from Camp Chef, 35 past the hour. We say good evening to those of you watching the show tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show to watch. Also, you can take the show in via YouTube/RD Rempe, where there is a chat going on with the likes of Dino Dan and Smoking Joe's Pit Barbecue and Guy the Cooking Sam. Cigar aficionado Jeff Andrizzi is in as well, smoking an All Saints St. Francis. It looked like a Toro, but maybe it was a Robusto, but that's a delicious stick. So, Jeff, hopefully you are enjoying that. We also say good evening to all the folks using our audio streaming platform, Clubhouse, as well. So if you'd rather hear us instead of watch us, Clubhouse is the way to do that. And as I had mentioned in the first hour, Clubhouse also has its own independent chat. So if you're into that kind of a thing, go ahead and work it out through the Clubhouse. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, we bring you episode 253, taking you back to December 17th, 2013, 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago. This bringing a close to the 5 weeks of the 2022 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame class members. And closing it down is John Solberg's number one impassioned pick for this year's class, the former pitmaster of Warren County Pork Choppers, Donnie Bray of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Now, I use former in air quotes for those of you listening in podcast or through Clubhouse because Donnie has not competed in a long time. I don't know if he is still competing or looking to compete, so we will offer up former at this point and then find out for sure later on. However, this segment was recapping the Team of the Year race Donnie and Tim Grant from True Bud were locked up in at that point in time back in 2013. This is also the segment where you hear Donnie Bray utter the classic line, and I quote, "The sun don't shine up a dog. The sun don't shine up one dog's ass all the time," close quote. Donnie says on the record that he choked away the contest that could have brought him the Kansas City Barbecue Society's Team of the Year title that year, and then recounts the year and the pressure he was under at that time. His honesty in this interview, very refreshing, and you can easily see why John made such an impassioned plea to get Donnie into the Guest Hall of Fame this year. Donnie might have been out of the competition scene for a number of years. Now, as I stopped to think about it, he mentioned to me as I was letting him know he was in the Guest Hall of Fame this year, and that I was sending him his Guest Hall of Fame ring, which is a new thing at the start of last year's class and ongoing. Although I am hearing from previous men, I didn't get a ring. Yeah. It's called evolution. You're in the hall. Shut up already. As we move on, he did mention he might be getting back into it. How about this? Instead of guessing, why don't we ask him, as he is slated to return to the Barbecue Central show on December 6th as we close out the year. So we will ask Donnie Bray specifically within the minutes of that interview if he has sat on the sideline long enough and will rectify, much like a phoenix in the ashes. Is that right? Much like the phoenix through the ashes. Whatever. If he will be resurrecting Warren County pork choppers in whatever form or fashion. I actually used to wear their t-shirt quite a bit. They had a really cool logo. Had Warren County pork choppers down either side of the long sleeve. Pretty cool. So we'll see if he'd be getting back into it at some point. I'm guessing probably not. If you've sat out this long, I don't know if Competition Barbecue has sexied itself up any more than it has when he decided to get out of it. And that was the thing. Like, he was doing really good, one of the top teams in the competition scene, and then all of a sudden he falls off, never to be heard from again. And why is that? Why does that also happen quite a bit with teams that make those runs, only to never be heard from again? I don't know, but maybe we can ask Donnie that as well. Upcoming shows, because we are freshly into November for the rest of the month. Next week, believe it or not, one of the co-founders of show sponsor Vortic Watches, R.T. Custer, will be joining us once more. We will be hyping up the release of the Veterans Day watches that are going to be coming out, available for sale 3 days after the segment on the 11th, Veterans Day. And if you're looking for a really unique piece of American history to put on your wrist, then this is one you're going to want to check in and check out. So looking forward to chatting with RT next week. Also, interviews with Andrew Barnhart, who's the creator of a product called Flip Grill. If you have a Big Green Egg or a Kamado Joe or pretty much any type of ceramic cooker and you're sick of using spatulas to flip stuff over, Andrew has created what I akin to a Meadow Creek chicken flipper. If you've seen the Meadow Creek chicken cookers, and you can stick 7,000 pieces of chicken in there on one side, and you have another grill that clamps down. You secure it together, and then when it's ready to flip, you just go down, whoop, flip the wheel over, and whoosh, very easily flip 700 pieces of chicken. Little smaller scale with the Flip Grill, but a similar concept. So we'll talk all about the Flip Grill, how it came to be. He's an Ohio guy down there towards the Hartville, Ohio area, I believe it was. So looking forward to talking with Andrew. Also, coming up in November, believe it or not, the $200 Peppermill Challenge that I'll be doing with Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. I will be championing the Pepper Cannon. Ray will be championing the Black Rain. We'll be putting it through its paces, and we'll decide which one actually reigns supreme in the end. Each one well over $150. The Pepper Cannon actually $199 retail. I believe Black Rain is maybe $150. Maybe it's approaching $200. It's a lot of money between two Peppermills, to say the least. And Dr. Barbecue and I will be putting each one through the paces and giving you our unbiased reviews of such. Then, longtime friend of the show and former sponsor Dan Arnold of Sucklebusters will be coming in November. Jess Pryles coming in for her quarterly segment. We'll see if we can connect with her finally after two failed attempts earlier this year. Sterling Smith from Luton Booty will be on the show once more. Susie Bullock is coming in. Chris Lilly will be stopping by. We'll be getting an origin story from him. Also, Noah Glanville from Pit Barrel Cooker. The embedded correspondents are showing up this month, and many more. So a huge list, a veritable cornucopia of guests and first-time guests and cool products, all filling out the month of November. So be on the lookout for that. Have you ever wondered how you can tell a legit barbecue restaurant from a faker? Well, Rodney Scott is all about telling you 3 red flags a pitmaster looks for when dining at a barbecue restaurant, and who would know better than him because he is a bona fide pitmaster. This coming from Insider.com. Here are the 3 tips Rodney Scott says, if you didn't know. Number 1, if there's no visible pile of wood or pit area, that is your first red flag. Red flag number 2, if you can't see the pits, Scott says to look out for smoke. And red flag number 3, according to Scott, can be the location. If you're still unsure after looking for some more blatant signs of on-site cooking, ask yourself, if I see a spot in the airport saying they're a barbecue joint, that would put a question mark with me, because how much smoke do you see going around an airport? Hopefully not. Now, I will say, as somebody who frequents Mabel's Barbecue on East 4th Street in Cleveland, there are no visible barbecue smokers. There's no visible smoke rolling around. However, I do know for 100% fact that there are JR Oilers upstairs and downstairs, but due to code, they have to have all the smoke evacuated out, and that was part of the hold up for their build out. So I would say I agree with 2 of the 3 of Rodney Scott's red flags. But sometimes just because you don't see the cooker or you don't see smoke wafting around the dining area doesn't mean that it's not a real barbecue restaurant, all right? So we talked about ceramic cookers for a segment with that flip grill. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they are fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that they can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true 2-zone cooking. 2-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a 2-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute the 2-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there's 60 different ways, more than 60 different ways to cook on a Primo. They also have the accessories that you're looking for. They have a pizza grill. They have a they have a rotisserie accessory, a half pan, a full pan for the drips. They also have a rib rack. Everything that you need right now to complete the Primo Grill experience, these accessories are here to do that. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz? Yes, sir. Patented technology? You betcha. True 2-zone cooking capabilities in multiple sizes? Yes and yes. If you have to have a round ceramic cooker, do they have them? Yes. But really, think about the oval design. Be a trendsetter. Be a mold breaker. Only sold through dealers. PrimoGrill.com is the place to find those. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. That's PrimoGrill.com. We are back with Sam the Cooking Guy right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're just a beginner or you're a professional. It's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal no matter what. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest, a YouTube cooking sensation with over 3.25 million YouTube subscribers at last check, 3.43 million to be exact. He's telling Hoda Kotb and Kathy Lee Gifford to shut the fuck up already. And he's here every Tuesday in the first month. In the second hour, we race and say hello to our pal, Sam the Cooking Guy. Hey, Sam.
Almost every Tuesday. Almost every second Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Sorry, almost every first Tuesday.
I thought within the last 2 months, one of those was going to be a dropout, but the logistics gods, for whatever reason, were with us, and you have been here the last 2 months, and I'm certainly happy about that. I mean, how about that?
I'm faithful.
Of course.
I like being here. I'll tell you something, my friend.
Go ahead.
There's things I have to do in my work life, and there's things I get to do. And this is one of the things I get to do and I look forward to.
Well, I can tell you from a fan's perspective, I love the fact that you are coming here month after month for the last number of years. I love the fact that you have, without question, stepped up the audio game, which when I was talking to Malcom Reed earlier last hour, I said, for as much money as I ask for people in my day job, for asking people how much they make in my night job sometimes, the thing that made me most uncomfortable was going back to regular guests and saying, hey, I'm making it a personal mission of mine to have my guests sound as good as me. You're a regular guest. Would you mind doing this? And then stretching that to any guest, hoping that they'll find the value in that and sounding good, and then holding steadfast to that. So if a guest says, I'm just not going to do it, then say, okay, well, we're going to have to hold this interview until you decide to make that sound commitment. That made me the most nervous.
We had this conversation way back, and I've said I will not listen to a podcast that sounds like shit. You start listening to something, and you get a Greg Rempe, and he sounds fantastic. And then they bring a guest on, and the guy sounds like he's calling from fucking Mars. I turn that shit off. I don't want to have to strain to listen. I don't. And you holding your line on people having good audio is important, and I commend you for that. And anybody that won't is a turd.
Yeah, turd.
I don't care who they are.
Speaking of people who are not turds, you are not a turd. You are fresh off a gallivant around the globe, getting back yesterday. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a Japan/South Korea trip.
No, we didn't go to North Korea. We were Tokyo for 4 days, and we were in Seoul for 3 days.
Wow. So where was the better time had, and why? And be honest. Because there's no bigger Japan supporter than Sam the Cooking Guy.
No, there isn't. I do what I do because of my love of Japan. It's a long story. I don't have to say it now, but they're so different. They really are. I mean, the people, the food, the way it looks, the whole thing.
But you have to pick which one was better right now.
I gotta pick one. I think probably I'm going to go with Japan only because.
Wow, I'm shocked. I thought it was going to be Korea.
I know it better. I'm getting to know Korea. I mean, this is my second time. My first time was for just a couple. We're dating. We are going back. We're going back to shoot some shows there in February. So this was a little reconnaissance trip.
Yeah.
And look, Japan gets all the attention. Everybody wants to go to Tokyo. Everybody wants to go to Japan. We know the food. I don't know. Can you name a Korean restaurant in Cleveland?
No.
Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to here in San Diego. There's a couple barbecue places I know, but the food is very different. And we just
different how?
I'm only different how? It's like completely different.
So you obviously have a Japanese food profile built in your mind because you're a fan. You've been multiple times. Yeah. You've shot video for the channel there as well, which has been fun to watch. So when you look at Korea, if you say it's so different, but where is it different?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of different everywhere. I didn't. The only thing I knew about Korean food was Korean barbecue. You go to a place, you order a bunch of meat, and the server or cook, I'm not sure what they're called, comes and cooks it over either like electric or charcoal at your table. And I've had that here in San Diego, and it's been okay. I've walked out going, it's good. But the level that they took it to, the black-haired pig, do you know what that is? No, I didn't.
I mean,
I
it's
didn't.
it's a pig.
We went to a place that brings, you know what binchotan is?
Yes, charcoal.
Right. So the Korean version of binchotan, charcoal, they bring with the serious thing of it's like shit, I can't remember the vice grips. It's like vice grips. They bring this hot container of charcoal glowing, and they put it in the well in front of you, and a grate goes on top of it. We had like a tomahawk bone piece of pork belly. I've never seen it with the bone before. That they bring and they start to sear on both sides, and then the server cuts all the meat off, leaves the bone, and then cuts it into smaller pieces and finishes them off. And it's served with these little tiny servings of samjang, which is like a spicy paste, and salt and a few other things. One little dip in any of these things completely changes the whole dynamic of it. It's
How was it by itself?
Incredible. You almost didn't need anything. So good by itself that by the time you add just a tiny bit of salt, a little bit of wasabi, and I'm telling you, just a little bit, a few grains of this salt on top, it's magnificent. And they make these. Do you know what okonomiyaki is?
No.
There's a Japanese-esque, Japanese pancake-esque type of thing. They make these sort of vegetable pancakes there. Hard to explain. They're called Peijon. We had versions of them that were just mind-blowing. Crispy, meat inside, vegetable, fish. I mean, just the food. Went to a market there that absolutely blew my mind. That no video will come from this last trip. But when we're there, I think it will go in February and spend a solid week or so and shoot. It'll be great to see. I feel like Seoul, Korea, South Korea is an undiscovered Japan.
Are you this geeked up on it because it's new, and in reality, like if you can extract yourself out of this, maybe it's really not that great?
So I went with my 3 sons, and Max, that people know from the channel that shoots and edits, along with Chansey.
Dick.
Dick. Every morning, the other 2 boys and I, not Max. Max is a sleeper-inner. We'd get up about 7 o'clock and we'd go for a walk, whether it was Tokyo or Seoul. And wait a second. Oh, it's our first morning in Seoul. We come across a 7-Eleven, and if you don't know anything about 7-Elevens in the Asian world, they kick the shit out of bars. Kick the shit.
I don't know if the bar is that high.
Well, they've made the bar high.
Okay.
It should be. But we got a piece of fried chicken from the 7-Eleven in the Myeongdong district of Seoul. And when I tell you, Mr. Rempe, that it was better than a lot of fried chicken from proper fried chicken places I've had in this country, you might not believe me, but it was really good. We all stood at like 7:30 in the morning and took a bite of this and went, holy shit, what is going on here? The 7-Elevens in Japan are notorious for their egg salad sandwich. And I know you think egg salad is a big deal. Look, gross?
Egg salad's gross.
You don't need, oh my God. You have so much.
Do you know how you can make egg salad worse?
Get your hand off the button and just tell me.
Put onions on it.
Oh,
so they make really good egg salad in Tokyo.
I'm telling you, it's unbelievable in Japan.
Because they use QP mayo?
Any convenience store. Yes, probably. Yes. I don't know which mayo they use. There's a competitor to QP. That's similar. That may be cheaper. I don't know. But in fact, there was some. I was at Not Tacos today with 2 executives from QP, 4 executives from QP, 2 of them from Japan and 2 from Los Angeles, where they have an outcropping.
What are they in town for?
Well, they like the fact that I'm a huge fan of QP, that I use it on the channel all the time. That
We say proselytizer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I am. But it sounds a little too not Jewish for me to say proselytize. So
why?
I try not to use that term. Isn't that when you guys get down? I don't know. What does that mean?
That means you talk about it.
You're raising your hands. There's a whole like serious religious component to that term for me. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know me. Nobody's more seriously religious than me.
No, that's true. No. But they were here. They like the fact that I use it. We were supposed to go to the QP Museum in Tokyo. They don't allow non-Japanese speakers there because the tours are conducted in Japanese. But they were going to have a guy there to do it for us in English.
Wow.
But the timing didn't work out, and so we couldn't do it. But so they're fans of the show. They like the fact that I use QP, and they like our salmon taco that is salmon grilled on our flat top. And apart from the other stuff that goes into it, we finish it by putting QP mayo across the top, togarashi, which is this Japanese
big fan
spice, pepper spice, and then we torch it. It's a great effing taco, man. So we were talking maybe future business. We'll see.
All in all,
you never know.
Japan and South Korea, magnificent trips, and at least a week in February where you could have content for the show so we can all take part.
Will absolutely have content.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, so we're looking forward to that.
Look, I'm just going to say this. If you go to the same place every year for a vacation, go someplace different. That's the idea. I'm not saying you have to go as far as Tokyo or Seoul, South Korea, but it's a big world out there. And I'm talking to you, Mr. Rempe. Time to get out, discover a little bit of what's going on in the world, and see what's happening.
All right. I'm going to make a trip to Korea, okay?
No, you're not. You were not going to Korea.
I am not going to Korea. You're absolutely right.
Would you go to Tokyo?
No.
Why?
Why do I have to? But I don't want to. That's it. That's all. That's only a reason why I just don't want to go.
That's fine.
I'm sure they're great. You have. I'm thankful that you go, so I can hear all the great stories that you've experienced, and then it's like I went.
I'm curious. Can we take some kind of poll or votes?
Yeah, we can.
On
we have instant
stuff?
chat
Maybe
right
your
here.
Clubhouse. Maybe you're okay. Good. So what should this be? If you haven't been to one of those countries,
yes,
are you interested in going, and would you go?
Oh,
yes or no?
I'm interested in going. I won't go.
Yes, no, you're not. No, you're not. Okay. So forget that. Would you go? If you've never been to one of those countries, would you go?
All right. So here's the question to the chat room. If you could go to Japan or Korea, South Korea, are you interested in going? Answer yes or no. And then I'll update here while we transition into a different topic.
Okay, go ahead.
Finish your thought. Go ahead.
No.
No?
Do you want to go anywhere? You just want to stay in Cleveland forever?
I mean, I was just in Greensburg, Pennsylvania last week. What are you talking about?
Okay,
Majestic.
So let's fuck out of this.
You should see the lead.
Let's fuck out of this country. Where would you go?
I'd go to Australia.
If you could go anywhere, where would you go?
I'd go to Australia.
Australia.
Sure.
Wow. I'd go. The way you say it, it's like if they dragged me, I'd go to Australia.
Yeah, because it involves the whole thing of going to Australia. Like, I don't.
What is the problem with going?
But
Is
I
that the
don't want to
problem?
go. Like, I just don't want to go.
Why? I don't get this. You don't have an interest in other parts of the world?
No.
Other cultures, other foods,
No.
other people?
Nope. No.
Interesting. I think you're alone on your own little island.
I think
On
I'm
your
what
own
we
little-
call a myopic American. Thank you. Everything exists here. I have everything I need here. I have everything I want here. And if I'm going to travel, first I will travel my country so I can say I've been through it. And then if I'm still alive, I'll travel outside of the country because I'll have traveled my country.
So what? You got to go to 50 states before you head out?
I don't have to go to 50 states, but I mean, I should see more of the country first.
Wait, quick.
I've been to Canada.
What's the last state what's the last state you would care to go to?
Oh my God. It's probably a toss up between Louisiana or Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah. No offense to Malcom Reed, by the way. But
No
yeah,
offense, but
I don't
you
couldn't-
think that the food there has got to be a lot more interesting than, no offense, Idaho or Iowa or Kansas?
It's just my gut feeling. I think those places aren't that great, so I wouldn't go to Louisiana or
You
Mississippi.
think Iowa is more interesting than Louisiana?
I do, and Idaho, and Wyoming, and Montana,
Oh my God.
and
Somebody
Oregon.
should come in that room and slap you right now. Where's
Why-
your wife? Get her on the phone.
Why do you think Louisiana's
come on.
better than Idaho or Iowa? You don't know. You've never been to either place.
You don't know where I've been.
Sure. Have you been?
Do you know where I've been?
Have you been?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
No, but I can tell you
okay.
this: Louisiana with its French component.
Okay, you're
is
just
gonna
talking
be a
about New
damn
Orleans.
a damn sight more interesting. No, not just New Orleans. A damn sight more interesting than. Pardon me for saying this, Iowa or.
But you don't know that.
Idaho. Look at fucking potatoes. You go have a potato. You can have a potato in Cleveland.
Yeah, good one.
Has anybody responded to our question yet?
So I have 10 yeses so far.
Don't lie. Okay. Out of any no's?
Look, I'm on no no's.
You are on
I
that
have
island.
I have Brian. Yes, would go. Have been to China. Ick.
He said ick?
Ick. Yes.
Wait, you said ick or he said ick?
I said ick.
I've been to China.
Yeah, I'm sure
Like
you have.
China, not Hong Kong. Not Hong Kong. I've been to Hong Kong. I've been to Beijing and a couple other places. It's crazy. Not my first place to go back, but I feel I've grown because of it. Dude,
Well-
you got to get out. We got to get you out.
I'd say you sound like my mom, but my mom just answered in the instant chat, no. So go blame her.
She ruined you.
Can we do this real quick? I want to make a connection. I got my next guest coming up right behind you. His name is Cade Huskinson from Camp Chef. He's a big fan of Sam the Cooking Guy. So I'm gonna punch
By the
you
way,
up here.
I'm
real
a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Camp Chef.
So, oh wait,
Love Camp
shit, he's in number 4 here. So am I
Shit.
gonna be able to do this? Okay, hold on. I can do this. I can do this.
Go ahead, techie boy.
Hold
Make
on.
your shit happen.
Yeah, set up.
I'm seeing a bunch of frozen people.
No, I know.
There's,
Where are you at? Your guest
Where do you have
there.
Malcolm up there, all frozen? You got your Camp Chef guy. Everybody, why is everybody frozen except me?
Did I do that right?
No.
No. Oh, that's the background. Hold on.
Oh, there you go.
Darn it.
Same
Darn
here.
it. Darn it. Darn it. Darn it. Darn it. Hold on.
Oh,
Box.
look at you. First time? First
Box
time?
2. Guest
Oh,
4. Here we go. Look. So
What's up?
Sam the Cooking Guy is on the bottom, and there's Cade above. Sam, Cade is a
Cade,
big
how are you,
fan
man?
of Sam the Cooking Guy. He says they watch Sam the Cooking Guy videos all the time for inspiration, believe it or not.
Thank you. What do you mean,
Yeah, we
believe it or not? I was going to say a terrible word, but
I'm just trying to be like you're not playing your humble card for you.
You don't worry about me.
Okay.
Kate and I are fine. We're talking. Go ahead. You just cut yourself out and leave us to talk.
Okay. Very
I love
good.
to say,
Yeah.
I
By
don't-
the way, I
don't
love your
appreciate the
stuff.
Idaho slander.
Oh, yeah.
Did I say Idaho? I meant Cleveland.
Keep talking, tough guy. Okay, tell Sam one great thing about Iowa or Idaho.
The mountains are beautiful. Northern Idaho is fantastic.
Talk to me about food, though.
What about food? Tell them about the food.
Talk to me about food.
Well,
and don't mention potatoes.
You have to go with potatoes. I'm going potatoes.
Of course. I mean, potatoes are delicious. They're good all by themselves. They're good as baked, fried, poached.
I love potatoes.
Yes.
I'm just saying, just get out a little bit.
All right. Cade, have you ever been to Japan?
Discover.
I've not been to Japan.
Have you been to Seoul, South Korea?
No.
No?
I have not.
Wait,
Cade, you need to get out more, Cade.
Stop. Can we ask him a question? Do you have any interest in going and traveling far afield?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, absolutely.
Where's your? If you could go furthest place you'd like to go would be where? Or just anywhere you'd like to go out of the country.
I would go. I speak Spanish, so anywhere South America, Mexico, Central America.
Nice.
I would
nice.
love.
Oh, you're never getting
get off the
Rempy
beaten
there.
Path.
Yeah, don't expect Rempy to go with you. No, he goes to restaurants that make things that are called Char-Broil.
Yeah, it's called Gray's. Gray's, owned by Sam, the cooking guy. You can't talk shit about Char-Broil. You put it on the menu.
Listen. I'm saying that you go to those places because it's a safety thing for you. It's not real Mexican food, and I admit it's not real Mexican food that I have in my restaurant.
Well, that's up for debate because it appears a Mexican restaurant is making that dish in multiple states across our great land that I don't travel to.
No, Cade has said he would go South America.
Okay, good for Cade.
Thinking. Would you ever go to South America? No. You don't want to go anywhere that's out of the lower 48.
Nowhere that's out of the wire.
Lower 48. Nope. How about Hawaii? Would you go to Hawaii? Or is it
100% yes. Yeah. I might be in logistical planning for that.
What about wait, what about the other one?
Alaska?
Alaska.
I mean, I don't really have a desire to go there, but I would go there.
Really? It's beautiful.
A lot of bears.
No. It is straight freaking beautiful.
Yes.
Nothing like you have in Cleveland.
Have you been to Alaska, Kate?
I have been to Alaska. It's gorgeous.
All right.
Look at that. It's gorgeous.
Well, I'm not against it. I don't have like a
everything that's not attached to this land that you're in right now or Hawaii. Apparently that's the one exception is Hawaii.
It's paradise. That's right. Lance Owens, our best friend, is in Hawaii, and that's a pull for me. So, look, Sam, we got to leave it here. We're cutting into Cade's time, and we got to talk about the Woodwind Pro.
Nice chatting.
All right, Sam, we'll see you next month.
I'll see you sometime in Alaska or South America, and we don't have to worry about Rempy because he will not be there.
That's right. That's right.
I'll catch up with Rempy in Idaho.
All right, Cade, that's enough of Sam the cooking guy. He's given me kicks to the balls that I can't believe in ways that I wasn't expecting here tonight. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on hold real quick. We will come back. We'll talk all about Camp Chef. We'll talk about Woodwind Pro, and we'll do that here in just 1 second. However, I will talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to be a better outdoor cook. Known for the championship rubs and seasonings, popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Double Secret, Steak Rub, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in the backyard, offering 13 perfectly balanced flavors that transform ordinary meals into extraordinary. They also own Granny's barbecue sauce, so if you're looking for a new go-to sauce because you're sick and tired of what's already out there existing currently, Granny's is the one you want to try great all by itself, or you can use it as a base sauce and trick it out as you see fit. Also selling cookers, right? If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smoker, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. If you're not a fan of pellet smokers or you don't know what type of cooker you need, call them. Ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with Cade Huskinson right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Sam the Cooking Guy for joining us last segment, this portion being brought to you by Smithfield. The popular Smokin' with Smithfield grant program applications are currently live at smokinwithsmithfield.com. In order to help deepen the prize pool, Smithfield will once again be awarding $3,000 to selected competitions. Applications are open until December 3rd, so just a little bit over a month from now, and then it will close. So get on it now if you are interested in deepening your prize pool. Also, bringing back that Committed Cooks program in 2023 as well, smokinwithsmithfield.com. All right, helping me close the show tonight is the marketing manager for a little company called Camp Chef, one of the leaders in the pellet cooker industry and part of a very large and multi-branded company called Vista Outdoor. Tonight, we talk about one of the items I think will be a thing in 2023, which is the emergence and acceptance of a new kind of hybrid cooker. This one, a little different from the ones we've spoken about in the past few weeks. So we race to the hotline and welcome in the aforementioned Cade Huskinson. Hey, Cade.
Hey, it's good to be here.
All right. Well, I'm glad I was able to make... Maybe I'm not so glad I was able to make that introduction to Sam the Cooking Guy, 2020 being hindsight, but glad we could put it together nonetheless. Yeah, no doubt. So before we talk about Camp Chef and more specifically the Woodwind Pro, a little background about you professionally and where you call HQ.
Yeah, so a little bit about me professionally. I moved into Camp Chef, came over to Camp Chef 3.5 years ago as their social media manager. I was in that role for 2.5 years. That's how I know people like Sam. Very familiar with creators in the space because of that role. And then moved into marketing manager and have been able to be in more discussions around product development, consumer insights, the kind of the brand we're trying to build. We went through a big rebranding about 1.5 years ago. And so, yeah. It's been awesome. You can't, Camp Chef's unique in the barbecue space because we have the whole camping side, and you really can't go wrong. When you're in this industry, you're either out in the mountains cooking or you're on a back patio barbecuing, and it's been a dream job for me. So I've loved it.
Before we talk about the Woodwind Pro specifically, as you look back 6, 7, 8 years, I remember the first time I was learning about pellet cookers. I mean, Traeger had been around since the early to mid 80s, and then they had owned the patent on the whole augering system and really kept everybody at bay until that thing expired. And then all of a sudden it was a free-for-all for everybody that had been waiting for that thing to expire to get whatever product they were making out onto the market. And it really exploded, then it kind of died. And then maybe a decade ago, it re-exploded and has not lost momentum at all here as we're sitting at the end of 2022, ready to cross over to 2023. As you look at it, are you surprised at the stranglehold that pellet cooker popularity has had on the consuming public?
No. In fact, I still talk to people in my personal life that have like very basic questions about pellet grills, and I'm like, you are the type of person that I would have thought has had one of these for years. I think it's still an emerging technology in the grilling industry, and I think we'll continue to see it growing. I think the magic that pellet grills brought into the grilling world is you could have some of that smoke flavor that you get from barbecue, without the headache of managing a fire. And now I know there's kind of a romance and an art form to offset grilling and offset cooking, but it's not as approachable to the general public. So it doesn't surprise me in the least that combining flavor with convenience has struck a chord with the market.
Kate Huskinson joining us here on the show, marketing manager over Camp Chef, the website campchef.com, if you want to check it out as we're talking here. So, Kate, one of the big topics over the past few months on the show has been the reemergence of the combo or hybrid cooker. Prior to this year, most folks thought of it as the gas grill on one side, charcoal grill on the other, same unit, but different cooking ways on either side of it. But now we're seeing the emergence of an offset firebox on one side and a pellet cooker on the other side with an in-common cooking chamber. Camp Chef is bringing something to the market that lives in this realm to a certain degree, and it's called the Woodwind Pro. So if you could tell us a little bit about the line and why this is a revelation for the company.
Yeah. So we built the Woodwind Pro off of the success of the Woodwind. The Woodwind entered the market. We did the Grill God campaign a few years ago. We innovated with the design a little bit with the ash clean out and the slide and grill features. And as the market matured, we started seeing that there's a large segment of the pellet grill market that wanted more flavor and wanted more control over the smoke flavor of their cook. And so that's why we started developing the Woodwind Pro as a way for people to have more ownership of the flavor, to have more control, to get the flavor that they really want off their pellet grill. And you mentioned that there are combo grills out there that have an offset chamber on one side, or same chamber but offset box on one side, pellet hopper on the other. The Woodwind Pro really takes what some would view as the headache that comes along with offset smoking, and the dissatisfaction of smoke flavor with pellet grilling, and combines the two while at the same time getting rid of the negatives. So it gives you all the benefits of the smoke flavor with the convenience of a pellet grill. And I think it's going to be, I know the Woodwind Pro, there's nothing like it on the market. So for those of you that don't know what the Woodwind Pro is, what we've built is a smoke box that sits above the chamber, the fire pot chamber where the pellets burn. And it has a butterfly valve in between the burn pot and the smoke box. So you can load up the smoke box with hardwood chunks, charcoal, chips, any other fuel you want to burn, and use the pellets below to ignite it. And then once it's burning on its own, you can close the butterfly valve, essentially choke that off from oxygen, or from that direct flame, and allow it to just sit and smolder. And so the flavor that we've gotten off of the Woodwind Pro in the office, as well as the initial reviews that have come in over the last month since we launched it, have been very positive. We did a taste test when we were developing this, where we did ribeyes on a pellet grill and ribeyes on the Woodwind Pro. And whether they liked the smoke flavor or not, 100% of the people could correctly identify which grill was cooked on, or which steak was cooked on which grill, just based off the taste alone. So we knew we were onto something at that point.
Kate Huskinson from Camp Chef joining us here on the show, marketing manager, campchef.com, the website. We're kind of showing some video as we're talking here. So if you're listening audio podcast-wise, you're going to want to go back and get the video or just hit the website up. You can see Kate on one of the promotional videos going over the Woodwind Pro as well. So this is mostly customer-driven feedback that you're getting, or are you also from a board side saying, hey, we're just trying to figure out something new or a way to stand out from the conventional pellet cookers that are hitting the market, and it's just a collision of or a marriage where you're thinking one thing, consumers are saying another, and you're able to meet this need or give this solution?
This was 100% consumer driven. In fact, we had a prototype of the Woodwind Pro, and there still was some hesitancy to introduce an extra step into pellet grilling, because the promise of cooking on a pellet grill is the convenience. And so internally there were discussions of whether the market would want this, because you have to add some extra fuel. There's an extra step that kind of goes against the convenience factor of a pellet grill. And it wasn't until our marketing team, we went through all of the forums, all the barbecue forums we could find, anywhere that anyone was talking about pellet grills. And we just started searching for terms like more smoke, smoke tube, smoke flavor, and just started screenshotting everything we could find. And we were surprised. I have on my computer a document with hundreds of screenshots of people saying, I like my pellet grill. I wish it had a little bit more smoke flavor. I'm doing a brisket this weekend. How do I get just a little bit more smoke flavor? And that's really what the Woodwind Pro gives people. And the beauty of the Woodwind Pro, on top of the flavor, is it really does give you it puts you in control of your cook, because you can run it on pellets alone if you want. So if you don't have the time to load up the smoke box and do all that, you can run it like you do any other pellet grill, and you'll get fantastic food off of it. But if you're, spending $50 to $100 on a brisket, and you want to make sure it turns out exactly as you want, you have the flexibility and the option to add more fuel in there. So
can I have a question from the instant chat here in YouTube that says, you've added a smoker box because the cooker doesn't give you enough smoke. Can't you get the same results with a smoke tube? So let's explain a little bit why that's different, and why what you're bringing to market is different than just adding an amazing tube or something along these lines.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And that's actually, we've seen a lot of feedback on that as we launched the Woodwind Pro. We knew that we would see some. But the real difference is, with a smoke tube, your pellets are burning at a very low temperature. They're smoldering. Where with the smoke box, it's sitting right above the burn pot. And so you have, it's very hot around there, but the fuel inside of it isn't burning. It's smoking, but you get that secondary burn because of the heat, because of the placement of the smoke box above the burn pot. And we've done taste tests with a smoke tube and the Woodwind Pro, and you can tell a difference. One of them, you still get more smoke flavor with the smoke tube, but in a way you're adding more of the same. You're adding more of just pellets. And I don't know enough about the science of wood and the lignins and all that's within wood, or the chemical makeup, but there seems to be some magic where a chunk of wood burns a little bit, it gives off a little bit different flavor than a pellet. And that's not to say one is better or one is worse. Barbecue is all, if it tastes good, you're doing it right. That's my opinion. But the smoke box, I don't know if it's serendipity or if it was intentional by our engineers, but there seems to be some sort of magic happening where it's putting off the perfect amount of dirty smoke and clean smoke. And I've heard some people say that this isn't quite like an offset, but it's not quite like pellets. Like, it's in its own category. So it's interesting. We're still kind of figuring out what we've landed on, but I can tell you that the flavor is not like you would get off of just a pellet tube.
So in the box, if you're putting wood chunks or wood chips, I'm not a huge fan of wood chips myself, and then in the video it looks like there's actually charcoal briquettes as well. Are they igniting? Are you getting, so in an offset, you want to have a live fire rolling in that offset because you want the clean smoke. You don't want to see all the white, billowy, dirty smoke or the gray smoke that is not going to lend that nice smoke profile to the meat, whatever you're cooking. So are you gaining a full ignition at this point, or is it just enough to heat it and smoke it, but you're not getting to a flame or a full ignition?
No, you can get to a full flame. I've had some where I'm cooking on my Woodwind Pro where I've opened up the box to add more fuel, and there's a flame going inside the smoke box, because I was cooking at a higher temperature, so the box was hotter, the pellets below were burning hotter. But oftentimes it'll just sit there and smolder. It'll just be that it'll be a good smoke. I hope I'm explaining that well
And
enough.
it doesn't jack with the algorithm that the actual pellet cooker is trying to do to maintain 275 or 300 degrees or anything like that?
No. So the Woodwind Pro has a PID controller in it, and anyone that's listening that knows what PID is will know why that's beneficial. But essentially, the mind of the grill, the brain of the grill, is taking in that added external information, saying there's added heat in here, so I'm going to slow down on pellets, and you can still keep temps exactly where you want them with the Woodwind Pro, even with added fuel in there. So it's awesome.
From concept,
it really is an amazing grill.
From concept to getting it released into the market, what kind of a time frame are we looking at?
We were cooking on prototypes of this before COVID hit, so we've had this
little ways.
That's when we were tinkering with it and trying to figure out what this grill would be, and it feels so good to have it in the market. I can't tell you, because I was personally extremely excited about this grill just because of all the comments that I had seen on social media. As the social media manager, I knew that this would land with some segment of the market. How big that segment of the market is still unknown, and time will tell. But yeah, it's definitely filling a void, kind of a disconnect between the offset world and the pellet grill world.
From a retail standpoint, do you guys sell online only? Are you through dealers, big retailers? What's that look like?
Yeah, we've got placement with the Woodwind Pro in a couple big dealers. Primarily right now, it's primarily through our website, but or drop ship through their websites. But we've got more and more. I think retailers, especially, we're a little hesitant to take a chance on it. In reality, I think it's a new product. It's kind of forging its own way in this industry. And so I know that as a buyer, I would have been a little bit like, okay, let's see how this sells first. But we've been really happy with the response that we've gotten, both from the consumer market and from our retail partners.
How does the company benchmark success on a product like this? Do you have metrics that you put in place or forecast something to say, well, if we hit these internally, we'll bill it as a success? Whether it's making us billions and billions of dollars is another thing altogether. But are those things you put together, or is it just let's put it out there and hopefully we hear more good things than bad things, and then we'll realize if it's a success or not?
No, there's absolutely a lot of math and calculating and forecasting that goes into things like this. I might not be the best person to talk about that. Our finance team would have way more insights into that type of stuff, but they're definitely saying, hey, we want to break even on this by this date, or we want to, make this much in revenue by this date. And that's typical business practice. The Woodwind Pro, we were definitely taking a little bit of a chance. It wasn't proven yet. We weren't sure if we were going to launch it and people are going to go, oh, that's added work, I don't want that. Or, at that point, why don't I just get an offset? And luckily, the market's received it really well.
When you look into 2023, Cade, and it doesn't have to be Camp Chef related, what's your feelings about trends that maybe we're not seeing right now that'll emerge next year? Your thoughts?
Let's see. As far as an industry goes, it feels like I have two things to say about this, and they're kind of related. It feels like what's the word I'm looking for? The desire to have like true blue barbecue and it has to be done this way or no way at all. I feel like that's kind of going away. I think as more and more people are barbecuing at home, And initially, I think a lot of people were going to the experts and saying, this is how it needs to be done, and it needs to be done in this way. And there are some core principles that you have to know with barbecue, like cooking to temp, cooking to feeling, testing it with the probe, doing all that, letting it rest. Those things are constants. You've got to do that if you want a certain result. But when it comes to flavor, it seems like there's more of an appetite to break out of the typical barbecue flavors and explore other things. Sam, the cooking guy, is a perfect example of that, who's willing to explore, Asian flavors on barbecue and different seasonings and things like that, where, I think a couple of years ago, it was a little bit more, you have to be faithful to true blue barbecue. Along with that, I think there seems to be a departure from, what's true barbecuing. And, you had Char-Broil on earlier today with their electric grill. And I think the stigma that it has to be done in a certain way is going to kind of fall to the wayside. And if you can get really good food off of an electric grill, it doesn't make it any less grilling or any less barbecue than something that was cooked on something else. The end result is really the what matters. And I think we'll see that trend more and more in 2023 and moving forward.
Do you buy into the full-size electric grill? You think that's going to be a thing?
You know what? I don't know if it'll take over the other, pellet grilling. I think one thing that you need to remember is there's an art form with this. I think people like the smell of the smoke. I think people like when it's offset, it's more than just the flavor. There's a romanticism about it. There's
totally
an art form. With an electric grill, you get heat and you can get the same results, but I don't know if you're getting all of those other psychological triggers that are like really like making you proud of what you've done. So I think there is a market for it. Definitely people that are in apartment complexes or where they can't have live fire or even pellet grills. That is a fantastic option, but there's a lot. As a marketer, I always think about the psychological impact of certain behaviors or rituals that people have with the product. And there's certain grills in the market that I don't think have as tight or as ritualistic behaviors behind them as offset cooking or pellet grilling or low and slow barbecuing. But there's definitely a market for it.
Last question before I let you go tonight, and I didn't think I was going to ask it.
All right.
In 2023, Camp Chef is going to be bringing a full-size electric grill to market.
Is this a true or false question?
Yeah.
If we do, it'll be a surprise to me.
We'll say no then.
Yeah.
I imagine you would be hearing footsteps on that if that was going to be the case. So we'll take it as a no for now, but maybe later on in 2023, we're going to be talking with Cade, revealing a full-size electric Camp Chef grill, but not at this point. So if people are interested, Cade, they want to go to campchef.com, best place to go, and there's a couple different size options there for the Woodwind Pro.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you want to learn more about the Woodwind Pro, you can, learn about it on our website, or our YouTube channel has some great YouTube videos. We've also sent grills out to people to test it out, and we don't pay anyone, and we also don't ask for any sort of review. We just say we want your honesty. So anything you're seeing out there, we've told those people, be brutally honest. We don't want people to sniff out any sort of inauthenticity. Be true to your audience, and so you can learn more about the Woodwind Pro from those creators as well.
Cade Huskinson is the marketing director over at Camp Chef. Campchef.com is the website. Cade, really appreciate the insight on the Woodwind Pro tonight, a little background on you as well, and hopefully we can do it again soon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
That's Cade Huskinson right there from Camp Chef, and appreciate him hanging out here a little longer than I had anticipated, but the information is good. So 2 new guests, 2 great informational segments, one on a full-size electric grill, this one on a hybrid-esque pellet cooker that has a smoke drawer sitting over the firebox to allow you to put in wood chunks or wood chips or charcoal briquettes or whatever you like. to give you a little bit of that smoke flavor or added smoke flavor that you're missing in your traditional pellet cookers. Camp Chef thinks they have the solution to what has been a constant refrain for a decade or longer. Just not enough smoke flavor from that pellet cooker. So we'll see how it goes. Before we wrap it up here this evening, I'll talk to you quickly about Vortic watches. Next week, we have R.T. Custer, one of the co-founders, back in. You know, back in the day, watches were made to be worn in the pocket. But after World War II, wristwatches came into vogue, and pocket watches quickly became an afterthought, finding their way into sock drawers or scrap heaps. Quite simply a tragedy. Enter Vortic Watch Company, helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and bringing it to the present day, where wristwatches are finding incredible popularity. And here's the coolest part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique and one of a kind. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out vorticwatches.com for more info. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
And we thank Cade Huskinson for joining us last segment from Camp Chef, campchef.com, his website. And we talked about the Woodwind Pro, their new offering to add more smoke flavor to their existing pellet cooker, again, built off the back of the Woodwind model. And now it's the Woodwind Pro. That's the latest and the greatest, giving you more smoke flavor options for the Camp Chef pellet cookers. All the way back in the first hour, Malcom Reed led it off, howtobbbqright.com, his website. And then we talked with Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil, charbroil.com, and the full-size electric grill called the Edge. You know, I meant to talk about the $800 price tag that somebody mentioned in the chat room, and I didn't get to that top of the second hour, so I'm going to try to remember to address that top of the show next Tuesday, but forgive me if I don't. Second hour, we let off with Sam the Cooking Guy, talking about his recent trip to Japan and Seoul, South Korea, which was better, what the food was like. We're going to be going back in February to shoot content so we can all take part in that. And then somehow we got stuck on why I don't like to travel. What, am I not allowed to, not want to go out of the country? That's wrong. Evidently, I'm not as evolved, but that's fine. I knew I wasn't evolved. I'm so evolved, I knew I wasn't evolved in that portion of where I'm living. I like Cleveland a lot. I wish it was warmer, but I like Cleveland. What's wrong with Cleveland? You think Cleveland's so great? What's good in Cleveland? Anyway, closing out the show, Cade Huskinson from Camp Chef, campchef.com. Again, talking about that Woodwind Pro that has the smoker drawer where you can drop wood chunks, wood chips, lump charcoal, probably lump charcoal briquettes. I just said that. Again, campchef.com. Big show planned for you next week. Meathead, Robert Moss, R.T. Custer, and there's somebody else that I can't think of right off the top of my head, but the show is booked, believe that. So, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Chris Payne from Euclid, Ohio, and you are listening to Barbecue Central.